From the director revealing the hardest scene for the actor to get through, to Pedro Pascal making a shocking announcement about Season 2. Here's everything about Pedro Pascal, finally opening up about the worst scenes to film in The Last of Us. The Chilean-American actor is the man of the hour. We fell in love with him after The Mandalorian, realized the depth of his acting skills in The Last of Us, and can't wait to see what he has next for us in My Dentist's Murder Trial. The man's winning awards left and right, particularly for his role as Joel in HBO's critically acclaimed series The Last of Us. The post-apocalyptic drama might have been based on the 2013 video game of the same name, but series director Jasmila Izvanic wanted to put her own flair to episode 6 of season 1, which actually draws inspiration from an element in The Last of Us 2 from the video game series. They had to show diehard fans of the franchise that they really knew what they were doing. Basically, everyone had their work cut out for them. Pedro actually broke down in tears while filming a pivotal episode 6 scene, but it's not in the way you'd think. Suspenseful, isn't it? Don't worry, I'll explain in just a minute. Let me first refresh your memory on what episode 6 was all about. So, Joel and Ellie, despite all odds, have made it to a safe haven in Jackson County, where the series' protagonist meets the brother he thought he'd lost for good. After fans were introduced to Gabriel Luna's Tommy in episode 1, this was the first time they'd seen him back on the show. Fans actually believed he was dead, which made all of Pedro's character's struggles all the more heartbreaking. Like, this guy lost his daughter, the woman he loved, and there was a possibility that he might have lost his brother too. Thankfully, he still had Tommy. Unfortunately, this just made for an even more heartbreaking realization. Tommy's life in Jackson County was actually the sort of life he'd want for his own daughter in this post-apocalyptic world. Since he'd found a surrogate daughter in Ellie, he realized that it was unfair to have her tag along anymore, when she clearly had an actual shot of survival with Tommy in Jackson County. So, with this little recap, let me tell you how Pedro started crying to help out Gabriel. The scene demanded a lot of raw emotion, coming from both Joel as the hard-shelled guy he'd learned to become, and from Tommy just playing the role of a concerned brother. The director claimed that while everyone had their eyes on Tommy, she saw that Pedro had started tearing up, just to give Gabriel the extra boost of emotion he needed to really sell the scene. To say that Jasmila was impressed would actually be an understatement. The Bosnian director told Variety that seeing how Pedro shifted from having tears in his eyes to help Gabriel get through his part, and then soak up those tears just in time for his part, really showed how committed Pedro was to giving fans of The Last of Us the best television adaptation of the video game there ever could be. Another equally challenging scene, which the actor absolutely nailed, was the interrogation scene in When We Are in Need. I don't want to give away too many spoilers for this episode, but let me just tell you that it might have been the most intense episode in recent television history. Here's the deal. In a post-apocalyptic world, it's every man for himself. You'll see people turn into the worst versions of themselves and excuse their behavior for survival. Yeah, no, I don't think cannibalism or child predatory behavior would count. But that's exactly what the episode's villain David had in mind when he met Ellie and tried to lure her into joining his cult. So, the episode starts off with Joel, quite honestly, on his deathbed, and Bella Ramsey's Ellie trying everything to get him to survive. Unfortunately, David had been looking for Joel and Ellie after they'd reportedly killed one of their own. The episode might have showcased just how badass Ellie was, but fans couldn't help but commend Pedro Pascal's epic commitment to one of the most demanding scenes from the show. I am obviously talking about the knife and map scene. So, as I said, Joel's dying. Still, he manages to not only lure and trap some of the hunters, but he musters up just enough strength to torture them into telling him where David had taken Ellie. The knife in question was used by Joel to scare the hunters, and the map was used to force them to pinpoint exactly where Ellie was being held. The scene made me feel like my heart would shoot out of my chest, because not only did it show Joel's commitment to bringing back Ellie, it also showed Pedro's fantastic acting chops. Anyway, fans loved him for it. Several Reddit users wanted to start a petition to give Pedro an Emmy for this scene alone. One user commented, "Pedro Pascal ate and left no crumbs." Despite all the positive reactions the actor has been receiving leading up to the finale, Pedro's been actively trying to stay away from hearing fan reactions about the highly adrenaline-charged, controversial Season 1 finale. Here's the thing. If you decide to sacrifice all of mankind for someone you've formed a bond with over the course of a little less than a year, you're probably going to get a mixed bag of responses. Pedro told Yahoo Entertainment that he was scared that it might be a little hard for fans to separate the actor from the character and would approach him to call him out on not leaving Ellie behind. Now, obviously, this wasn't Pedro's decision, it was Joel's. And more so, it was Naughty Dog's. Still, the actor's been trying to stay away from any responses fans might have, negative or positive, just so he could stay unbiased towards the role he plays, especially now that the show's starting production for Season 2. The guy actually laughed about it, saying that since no one's approached him on the street and yelled at him yet, it's probably a good sign, and that people actually understand Joel's intentions for saving Ellie over finding a cure. The controversial move in the season finale, though, actually had Pedro trying his best to capture Joel's feelings. The way the actor sees it, he's just riding this unconscious wave of delusion mixed with gratitude. So after killing off every single one of the fireflies and carrying an unconscious Ellie back to his van, Joel decides that life's actually worth living again, so long as he gets to live out his last good years with Ellie, the girl he's found Sarah in. Here's the thing, though. Pedro believes that the guilt of what he's done to give himself some semblance of happiness again is still inside of Joel. Pedro and Bella talked about the final few moments from Season 1, saying that the whole dynamic of the show shifted once Joel decided to save Ellie, and Ellie decided to believe his obvious lie. She's now the one with survivor's guilt, and he's the one who's more than content with making it through. Bella and Pedro talked about what this could mean for their characters moving forward, with the actors admitting that it might set off a chain of events leading to Ellie going back voluntarily and sacrificing herself for the greater good. But being unable to do so as long as she knows Joel's around, especially after the guy confesses that he would have killed himself a long time ago had he not met Ellie. Sheesh, I can only imagine how hard it must have been for those two to really showcase the buttload of emotion needed for those final few scenes. But now that we have everything about Season 1 out of the way, let's talk about what HBO has in store for us for Season 2. The Last of Us didn't just break records at the Golden Globes. It also broke one of HBO's most notoriously difficult records, the highest viewership. We're talking about the same service that housed House of the Dragon here. Well, let me be the first to tell you that The Last of Us beat George R. Martin's fictional epic by 1 million more viewers. The stakes are high for Season 2. Unfortunately, Pedro Pascal revealed that he might not be a part of the franchise any longer. I mean, it's devastating news, obviously, but we all saw it coming, right? Pedro admitted that since Joel is dead in the second game series, it wouldn't make sense to keep him in the television adaptation. Especially since the series showrunners religiously followed everything to the T for Season 1. There's still a chance he'll be there, though. Guess we'll just have to wait and see. Anyway, from Pedro Pascal making a shocking announcement about Season 2 to the director revealing the hardest scene for the actor to get through. This was everything about Pedro Pascal finally opening up about the worst scenes to film in The Last of Us.